Hello, my name is Liddell Wade, and I'm currently a senior at Austin Peay State University, and I'm doing a summary presentation for a research paper that I did a lot of research on. The title of the research paper is Leadership and Sexual Harassment in the Army at the Unit Level. Over my 22 years of service, I have seen a lot of things that has happened throughout the military. A lot of good things, a lot of bad things. I've seen soldiers' morale go down behind sexual harassment. I've seen soldiers' morale go down behind toxic leadership. We as senior NCOs within the military, it is our job to take care of these soldiers and keep these soldiers uplifted and keep them in a positive atmosphere, whereas they don't have to feel as if they're in a hostile environment. Now, over my 22 years of service, started a long time ago, back when I started basic training back in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. A lot of the key points is how the drill sergeants would allow us to show our leadership abilities. Some of us did pretty good. Some of us made a lot of mistakes. I know myself, I made a lot of mistakes. But I did the best that I could while I was in basic training. When I graduated basic training, went to AIT, the drill sergeants did the same thing, allowed us to show our abilities as leaders. While in the IT, we got a lot of different type of training from the drill sergeants on to how to be a leader. I was selected as a squad leader while I was in AIT and then a platoon sergeant. And I did everything that the drill sergeants taught me in order to be a good leader. Upon completion of AIT, I moved to Fort Polk, Louisiana. I was at the time PB2 Wade, and this is when I met my first squad leader, and he was a very good NCO. He did everything possible to take care of all of us soldiers to ensure that we were able to progress in our Army careers. He showed us different things. He even showed us how to be great aircraft mechanics. He showed us how to be great soldiers and groomed us to be great leaders. Then I moved on to a line company, which is in Troop 4 Squadron 2nd ACR, whereas I learned how to be a crew member of a OH-50 Delta helicopter. The leadership that I had there was very good leadership. Our platoon sergeants were about pushing us to do and be the best that we could be. Our first sergeant was the same way. He was a very humble man. He was a man of few words, but when he talked in order for you to grasp what you need in order to be a good soldier and to be a great future leader. While I was in troop, this is when I got promoted to sergeant, and I attended Primary Leadership Development course. Now it's called ALC. I met a lot of NCOs that were cadre there at the NCO Academy. Some were good NCOs, some were bad NCOs. I'm not really saying really they were not bad, they were just more strict. Even in some cases it seems as if they didn't know how to talk to people. But we understood that this was an NCOS school, so we had to do what we were told in order to graduate the course. Upon completion of school, I PCS to Germany, and I was put into a squad leader position, and I had a platoon sergeant that seemed to be pretty mellow at first until I got to know him. and he was just a different type of senior non-commissioned officer. He was more of a completely by the book type NCO. It seemed as if he was trying to groom me to be just like him, but all soldiers cannot be the same. We all groomed different ways. But I did everything that I could possible to be the best that I could be while I was in Germany. And that is one of the main reasons why I got promoted to staff sergeant at a short period of time of being in the military. I got promoted to staff sergeant at 4.5 years in. Then I went to, at that time it was called Basic Non-Commissioned Officers Course. Now it is Advanced Leaders Course, ALC. There were 3 phases to that school. You had your Common Core, which was your leadership portion. Then you had your phase 2, which was more of your going into your MOS, before your PC, your QC, your tech supply. And then you moved on to the 3rd phase, which was more of your job of being a technical inspector. We had great cadre that worked with us, and that was focused on leadership development. But also, while we were there, we had some issues with sexual harassment. We had some drill instructors that were fraternizing with the AIT trainees, which according to 600-35, that is not allowed. And these drill sergeants and another instructor wound up getting court-martialed behind thinking about just themselves and messing with just dealing with the AIT students. Then after I graduated Basic Non-Commissioned Officers course, I moved on and went back to Germany, and then I deployed to Kosovo for a second time. I was actually a staff sergeant that was in a platoon sergeant position, it was an E7 position, and working along with the old platoon sergeant that I was under at first until when I got promoted. Him and I worked together as platoon sergeants, and he helped me be the best NCO that I could be. And I appreciate everything he did for me, to help me be a better non-commissioned officer. When I left Kosovo, I came back to Germany. We was in Schweinfurt. Then I PCS to Fort Polk again. When I got to Fort Polk, we was basically doing just normal aircraft maintenance flights, and then we came down on orders to go to Iraq. When we deployed to Iraq, everything was pretty rough when we got there, and we were living in blown up buildings, and everybody was a little frustrated because of our living conditions. But we had to understand that we got to work with what we have. Even our work areas to work on the aircraft, we had to work with what we had. So as we were in Iraq, conditions started getting better for us, buildings being built up, and getting normal power in order to run all the equipment that we had. Same as you were there, the leadership was very awesome leadership. They always supported what the platoon sergeants and the squad leaders needed, as far as upper chain of command. But then we got a new first sergeant that was a toxic leader. He would cause a lot of issues with myself, Sergeant First Class Ellis, and even my other NCOs, our NCOs, and soldiers. Then it's to a point that we didn't really want to deal with him, and the commander had to get involved and had to have a talk with him about how he was treating the soldiers. When we came back from Iraq, I went to the Joint Readiness Training Center to train soldiers in order to be ready to deploy. That assignment was a special assignment for the Army. you had to be deployed in order to do that assignment. While I was in the Joint Readiness Training Center, I was able to finish my associate degree at Central Texas College, along with being able to complete multiple different schools, from the Battle Staff Non-Commissioned Officers course, the Total Army Instructors Training course, the Small Group Leaders course, the time it was called Advanced Non-Commissioned Officers course. Now it's called Senior Leaders course. All these NCOES schools that we take, it is to further develop us to be better leaders and to understand the soldiers that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So once I was completed with my 3-year tour as an observer controller at Fort Polk, I PCS to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. When I got here, the unit was already down in Afghanistan. So when I got to the unit, I am processed, and then then they sent me down to Afghanistan. When I got to Afghanistan, I took over as a platoon sergeant in another line troop, managing the maintenance on 16 helicopters. It was very stressful. We had enough crew chiefs to maintain the aircraft, but it was still stressful with the amount of flights we had. The chain of command would be very supportive and with us trying to make sure that we make and meet every mission. But there are some times that it would get pretty stressful on us leaders, and we would be afraid we would make a wrong decision. There were quite a few stressful times that I had while I was in Afghanistan the first time. And also the second time I was in Afghanistan, I had some very stressful times with the amount of missions that we had. But the leadership, as far as the first sergeant, the commander, the platoon leaders, all the way up to from the Squadron XO to the Squadron 3, the squadron commander, were very supportive with the line troops and the line companies to maintain an aircraft. Upon my second redeployment from Afghanistan, I went to Delta Troop and I went to the maintenance platoon. I was in charge of about 30 soldiers and NCOs. And my job as the maintenance platoon sergeant was my soldiers and NCOs would deal with the heavier maintenance on the aircraft. We had, as same as using Delta Troop, we had good leadership. We did have a commander that was not really toxic, but he was a professional, but it's the way he wanted to run things as a commander just wouldn't coincide with what the NCOs was trying to do, because the Army is ran by NCOs. So when we had a new first sergeant that came over, which was the first sergeant that I had when I was in Alpha Troop, and while in Alpha Troop, him and I was best of friends. But when he came to Delta Troop, it seems as if he changed. It was like he was just angry, and he started doing more things of like yelling and screaming at soldiers, and he became a toxic leader. And same thing, none of the soldiers wanted to have anything to do with him. But also while I was in Delta Troop, I've had a couple sexual harassment situations that I had to deal with, far as a NCO making inappropriate comments to the female soldiers. Once I talked to this NCO, I explained to him that he could not do that. But time later, he would do it again, and the female soldiers would come and talk to me about it. Then I had to actually counsel this non-commissioned officer on SHARP, which is sexual harassment and response prevention. And the NCO, wound up getting moved to another unit. due to what was going on in his office. In 2015, 717 Cavalry shut down, and some of the personnel in the unit went to new duty stations, and some of us went to 101 Combat Aviation Brigade, whereas I went over to the replacement company and was our cadre there. I was a senior platoon sergeant. That we had multiple sharp complaints and even a sexual assault that happened there, whereas a NCO sexually assaulted a female soldier. That NCO faced a court martial. This sexual harassment is something that is very, very big throughout the Army, and a lot of us just don't understand why people still harass the soldiers. And with my interview with Miss Howard, both of us agreed that they don't respect themselves, nor do they respect the soldiers. Also, with the leadership issues that are going on in the Army now, whereas it seems as if NCOs only care about themselves versus making sure that the soldiers are taken care of. I have spoken with some of the NCOs that were under me, that worked for me while I was in the Army, and they even said themselves that their hire doesn't care anything about them. And it just seems as if the NCOs like myself that served 22 years and that came up knowing that that is your job to take care of soldiers, and the soldier comes before your personal needs, and it seems as if now the soldier is second instead of being first. This paper, this is all personal experience over my Army career. Is how I wrote this paper. It's all first-hand knowledge and experience of me personally dealing with situations throughout the Army, and also a lot of the information that I researched to get updated information and other personnel that I talked with to do my research. I hope that you learn a lot from my paper and my video, and understand how the military and sexual harassment works, and how sexual harassment affects not only that soldier, but it affects the whole unit. Same as in the civilian world, sexual harassment affects a company. It affects the workers, and it should not be tolerated, along with having toxic leaders. It should not be tolerated. Thank you for listening.